Happy Monday, everybody. We're going on the wrong night of the week this week. Some jackhole's boss scheduled them for Tuesday night, and the owner didn't do anything to fix it, so we're stuck with a Monday night. So if anything happens on Tuesday that's important and we don't talk about it, that's why. But we'll still release on Wednesday as normal for the time being. So anyway, we're almost in agreement. almostinagreement@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go to our website, almostinagreement.com. While you're there, check out our Voter Guide 22. Early voting starts today. The release day is Wednesday, so the 19th of October is the first day of early voting. So at least do yourself a favor and figure out your 4 ballot items before you go in. I've got an interview with Becky Massey on it if you want to go back and look at that one. It's a pretty good breakdown. The Compass guys did a good breakdown this week as well. Check out the Compass Points podcast, another Barbarian production. They're on all your major podcast providers as well as us. Give us a like, share, friend, follow, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And again, go check out the website and see what we got going on in there. Lots of stuff going on, I guess. So we'll start somewhere and go from there. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
What's the haps, Jacks?
Nah.
It's Monday. So what the deal? What's up with your boss, bro?
I thought we were just making a new schedule.
We had
new staff. That's just how shit landed.
Fair enough. Like we had talked on here. We had talked about going back to like we were doing Fridays for a long time. Or Saturdays? We were doing Saturdays for a long time with Sunday releases.
Yeah.
And then Max and AC were like, I mean, Saturdays are kind of rough. Maybe a different day of the week. Maybe a weekday might work better. How's Tuesday for everybody? Okay, sure. And here we are, and they've been, since we changed over? We've had Max maybe 5 or 6 times. 3 or 4 of those were call-ins. He wasn't even here. We've had AC like once. I mean, and again, to be fair, to both of them.
They busy.
I saw AC this weekend at a wedding because some jackhole decided he wanted his wedding on the BAMA, during the BAMA game. But I saw him at the wedding, and he still hasn't gotten finished moving in. He's still living. He's been out of the condo since September, and they've been at his parents' house for the last couple of weeks, trying to get the last of the house move in ready for the baby. I did get to dance with the baby at the wedding. It was fun.
Nice.
She giggled at me, which, you know, baby giggles, they're the best.
Right.
They melt you. And so, yeah. And then Max is he's actually working right now. He's got an electrician in getting some of the, electrical work worked on. So, anyway, nonetheless, that's why who's here and why we're here today. So it's Monday. Usually I have a chance to get through a couple of my podcasts as far as like the events of the weekend. I only got halfway through one today, so I might be a little behind on a few things.
Sorry.
They've been probable Iranian suicide droning Kyiv. You heard about that?
Yeah. That was a story from like a month or so ago that Iran had supplied Russia with some of their drones.
Yeah, but like suicide drones, which I think is a weird term. Like I understand the idea. It's like, so it's a...
I don't know if they were built to be specifically that. You wouldn't think so.
It's a remote...
But it can also be used as, if you put a missile on something, you can either just launch that missile and have it come back to you, or you can just have it just blow up wherever you're at.
Right. And so you double the range because you don't have to worry about your return trip.
Right.
And, so it's a remote guided ordnance that part may come back or not, but...
That's one crazy thing I've seen talking about this conflict. It's not really. We've shifted to that, or shifted away from quote unquote traditional kind of warfare. Till now, it's a lot more like long distance,
right?
Either little missiles or drones or artillery strikes. And
it makes sense, I suppose. Why would you actually put your guys out there to get shot at if you don't have to?
Right.
But
you're going in to actually occupy something. That's when you're sending in the ground forces. Yeah. Doing more building to building, room to room.
Yeah, I think Friday we sent another $730 million, a package of $730 million worth of stuff and or cash over. So that's more than Knox County Schools budget just went to Ukraine.
Okay.
Just trying to put a perspective number on it. I mean, when you talk in billions, it's easy to just kind of lose track of what that actually means. But so like a year's worth of school budget, more than a year's worth of school budget in Knox County at least, just went over there. So anyway,
perspective.
I'm not talking about Ukraine. Commission is meeting right in Meow for it's their workshop. It's not their actual meeting. Don't know what else on the agenda. I know Mr. Ward, my commissioner for District 4 out here, he is trying to get something together to send to the state to try to get the state to build us a new mental hospital. To which the states previously, in previous attempts by the commission to get some funds or whatever for it, the state's reply is, we are funding mental health services, just we're not going to build a building. So the state apparently has, like, I don't know if it's like Helen Ross McNabb or some of the other places like that.
I don't think we really have a large one here nearby. We have a number, I think, of, I don't know if they're capacity-wise, but there was nothing, I don't think that was ever really done after Lakeshore closed.
Yeah, that's what the reference is. It's Lakeshore. It's like we have nothing that houses any significant number of people locally.
Right.
With Lakeshore gone, and so that's and apparently Kyle Ward out here in District 4 wants that. And I remember him talking about that to me either in the campaign or the one time I talked to him post. I did hear a vicious rumor, speaking of campaigns. There's already a number of rumored city council campaigns for next summer that are starting to get their ducks in a row. So I already had somebody ask me, are we going to do city council coverage? Yes. We will do city election coverage. My reply to the question was, can we have like a couple weeks where we're not in the campaign trail? Just a couple weeks. To which Jesse from Compass was like, yes, please. I would like that too. I mean, granted, like this coming up in November is a really light election. There's not much. My ballot will have 4 elections and 4 questions, I think. So I've got the governor, the state house, or the federal house 2 for Burchett or Dr. Martin. No, Dr. Martin's running for governor. Anyway, whatever. Burchett or whoever's running against Burchett. Then the Davis race for the Davis Kaplan race for 18. That might be it. And then I have my questions. So I might only have 7 items on mine. Because I don't have a state senate race. Yeah, governor, U.S. House, state house. Yeah, and questions. So I only have 7 items on this ballot.
Not bad.
So it should be a pretty quick in and out. Especially because I'm going to know what my 4 ballot items are.
Right.
Do you know what the 4 ballot items are?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. I will say officially, now that we're coming up into actual election week, per se, I believe I'm a no, yes, yes, yes. I believe I'm committed to the no on 1. But really, 2, 3, and 4. But 2 is the only one that actually has structural change to it, if something were to happen to the governor. Like, it's the only one that actually changes the day after it gets passed.
I was thinking it only had to do with like temporary incapacitation.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. But like, if miraculously, because Massey wasn't sure about it, but she said she's pretty sure, like, if the election's on the 8th, these things, if they pass, the state constitution is then and therefore changed. So whenever the polls close,
it is immediate.
Right.
Okay.
That was her understanding of it. I'm not. I'm confident that she wasn't fully confident in that answer. Like, it was pretty clear. She's like, I'm pretty sure. Like, it wasn't like, yes, absolutely. As soon as polls close, it's done.
Yeah, I mean, usually,
but it makes sense.
Pass new laws or whatever, that it wouldn't go into effect until they have like a start date.
Right. Well, I mean, like anything
or a session date. Or
right. Anything that like that's a state thing here is either July 1st or January 1st.
Yeah.
Like, nothing's immediate except for something that is specifically stated as of this date. If not, it's the July or the January one. And I think even that, I think it's July. It's July if it's in session. If there's a special session called, then it's January, unless it's something that's specifically put back to January. So, like, it passes in March, but it passes in March saying it won't go into effect until January. So we'll see. But anyway, that's the only one to me. Is that so? Let's for the sake of conversation, at least let's assume that on November 9th it takes effect, and Governor Lee, whether he gets reelected or not, he's still the governor until that transition. But he falls ill in that, on November 10th. Anyway, November 10th, I don't know. For example, I'm not advocating for this at all. I'm going to be very careful about my phrasing here. It's just the first thing that comes to mind. Somebody who's not happy about the election goes and shoots him, but doesn't kill him. But he falls into a coma. He's in the hospital while he's all, tubed up, being kept alive by the machines while they're trying to figure out if they can fix him or not. Then this number 2 would go into effect, where right now there is no official what happens if he doesn't die from said assassination attempt or other. It doesn't have to be an assassination attempt. I'm just saying that's an example.
I was about to say that's what you wanted. He got hurt.
I don't know. It's with the tumultuous political times that we have. It seems like I don't know. It's just where my head went. It doesn't matter. I'm not advocating for it. I don't think somebody should. I think that would be terrible and inappropriate. Please don't do that. But as far as these constitutional amendments go, if that stupid scenario that I just put together happened, that's the only way any of these 4 have immediate effect. If immediately Governor Lee falls incapacitated and is incapable of continuing the job, but doesn't die.
Right. Whatever
that scenario is, that he is incapacitated but not dead, then number 2 would kick in. But number 3 doesn't matter. It literally is just taking the word slavery, the exception for any approved slavery, which is federally illegal, so they couldn't do it anyway, but it just takes the wording out and makes the Constitution look better, as does number 4, because there's nothing that the state can legally do to stop a clergy member from running for office, because the federal government says, no, you can't stop them, and so they can't. And so then, so I'm no, yes, yes, yes. But really, as far as things that matter, I'm no, yes. The other 2 don't really matter.
Okay.
But if you really, really, if you really, 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 really want it to pass, I figured out, I've been thinking about this. If you really want, we'll go with number 3. If you really want to make sure this clause, this exception for slavery, gets out of the Constitution, don't vote for governor, but vote yes for that thing. You will increase your chances of meeting the threshold required for these constitutional amendments to go through. Because it's that weird subset of things. So the total number of votes in the governor race divided by 2 plus 1 has to be the number of yeses for it to actually pass. So 3 million people vote for governor. 150 or 1.5 million people skip the ballot items. Then they cannot pass. So a skip or a no is about the same thing. Or Jesse put it,
but still vote for governor.
Right. Vote for governor, but skip the ballot questions. And then vote for everything. Just skip the ballot items. If you skip the ballot items, you're basically voting no for the ballot items.
Okay.
Or at least you're handicapping the ability for him to pass. So if you're going to bother, you might as well. Or if you really want something to pass, skip the governor's race, because then that takes it out of the top number in the math thing.
Do you really want to advocate for that?
I mean, I don't care. That's what you and or listeners do however you want to. I'm just saying, if you really, 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 really want to enshrine the right to work or the right to work status into the Constitution here, then don't vote for Governor Lee, which you probably would be. Vote yes on number 1, and you're increasing the likelihood that one will pass. But you're also, advocating your governor race, so you might end up with this Dr. Martin character who's a socialist or whatever the fuck it is. Not really. I don't know. You should vote for all of them.
Just throw it out there, though.
I mean, that would be that's the right's interpretation of him. I'm not saying he is or isn't. It's not what I'm saying.
That is what you said, though.
Yeah, but I'm fucking quoting shit.
Well, then say what you're quoting. When you're saying that, it sounds like it's coming from you.
Yeah.
Or make it sound at least more sarcastic.
I do not wish to tell anybody how they should vote.
Okay.
But if you did have a specific end in mind, and it has to do with the ballot or one of the ballot constitutional items, this would be the way to do it. We can talk about this if you want. It was a conversation I had.
I was just wondering what cat boys are.
I don't know what a cat boy is either. I was curious about that. All right, so it's a comic. It's called For Americans for Limited Government. It's from 2019, courtesy of creators.com. It's a train that says climate change agenda. The sign in front of that train all points one direction. It says one way only, socialism, communism, and cat boys, which Sam and I agree.
Furries, maybe?
We don't know what cat boys are. I don't know. Pussies? Like some
I'm trying to remember where I was reading. There was some legislator somewhere that I'm pretty sure, like, on the House floor was talking about, I guess, people that identify as cats or whatever, and that they were requesting that schools gave them litter boxes to pee and poop in. And I'm like, that's
right here. That's Tennessee legislature. That's not federal. That's Tennessee. Yeah,
I said some legislature. I couldn't remember where in the U.S. I saw it. I was pretty sure it was like a state house or something.
But
like
it's here, this state.
Yeah,
yeah.
We find any proof of this?
No.
Yeah,
I did find it interesting though. Jesse and the Compass did a little snippet on it on there.
It's good that our legislators bring this shit up on House floor during our time. All right, it's their time, but our people's time when they should be actually doing shit. Like, oh, I heard from so-and-so that told me so-and-so, or I read on this website that all these schools are going to start requesting litter boxes because these kids want somewhere to piss and shit on because they're cats.
Yeah, that happened. I agree.
This actually happened.
Yes, I agree.
That the guy talked about it, or that the story was true?
That this person used their time on the floor of the State House to talk about this subject.
Okay.
I will not... What's the word? I don't want to word this. I would strongly assume that it has not happened in reality, like the actual action of a school putting a litter box in for a kid.
Glad you have some logic to realize this.
I would be comfortable in assuming that it has not actually happened, but I wouldn't rule it out completely. Neither would the spokesperson for Knox County Schools. I was getting ready to say, Jesse and Scott had did a small snippet in their paper about it. Jesse reached out to Carly Harrington. She's the director of comms or whatever for Knox County Schools. And I believe her answer was, we are not aware of any that exist, which is a very political answer to say no without fully saying no, so that some principal or something has a actual cat in her office with a litter box. So it's a litter box. It's not for the kids. It's for the actual cat or whatever. But it's just one of those very political answers, and I thought it was funny. Again, it's not saying that they do. It's just saying it's the political, not quite fully no.
Even if a person requested it, that's not something that would have to be accommodated. It wouldn't be considered a valid accommodation that would have to be provided by a county-funded school.
I wouldn't think so either.
But hey, let's rile up people's fears and like, oh yeah, these furries that are wanting litter boxes.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I mean, I don't agree with it. I'm not saying like you're telling me this.
You're the one saying sure, and I'm like, yes, let's do this, and you're like, yeah, sure.
I mean, this is American politics at its core.
Okay.
I mean, it's been this way for 20, 30 years. I think it sucks too, but we don't want to vote to change that. We don't want to pressure the politicians to say that we do not approve of this style of politics. Obviously, it works, or they would quit doing it. I mean, is Trump really racist?
I don't know the man.
Okay. Historically speaking, have you seen Trump in all his time on television? Did he come off as a racist to you until he was president?
I only remember seeing him on The Apprentice.
I remember he had a great interview with Oprah back in like the 90s. And he was talking a little bit of politics on there or whatever. And she's like, sounds a lot like you have politics in your future. He's like, he said something about he might run for president if it's the right time or something like that. I don't believe, and you're right, I don't have proof of said fact, but I believe Trump's a classist. I think he thinks he's better than everybody else because he has money. I believe Trump's an elitist. I don't think any of that's race-based. I don't think he's a racist individual. I think he plays into some of it because it works for him politically, but I don't think he's a racist. But we were told white nationalist all through his campaigning. So This is what politics is now.
I mean, some of those people were people he surrounded himself with,
right?
And
the right is
didn't really try to distance himself from them.
The right is the right is white nationalism, and the left is socialism and furries. Apparently, I'm saying that, but that's how it's sold to us. And that to me, that's the whole point of this show. And not that we're diametrically opposite politically, even when the rest of the crew's here. I think we're pretty well spread out as a foursome. I mean, generally politically speaking, I think when the four of us are in the room, it's a pretty good range of politics, of political outlooks. But we're all friends. But that's not how politics is sold. It's that they're either on your team with your team colors and your team letter, or they're Satan. And so some dipshit is believing this person standing on the House floor saying these crazy leftist whatevers are trying to get litter boxes for the kids at school. And that activates them to vote, and it works, so they do it. And instead of us as a populace being like, no, this is ridiculous, this shit needs to stop, because we don't have anything but the other one choice who does the other side of the same shit, it continues. And so how do we break it?
There was there was some kind of luncheon debate that Georgia had yesterday that Herschel Walker wasn't a part of, but the Libertarian candidate was there, and they said they actually had an empty podium there, I guess, like in between the two of them. I don't know why they wouldn't just put it off to either side, but Herschel Walker's, I guess, ceremonial lectern was there in the middle between Warnock and I don't remember the other guy's name, but they actually did have a debate.
I mean, I would think you put the Libertarian in the middle. If you were going to set it up normally anyway, you put the Democrat on the left.
I just thought they would put the two candidates together.
I mean, I would still say either way. If you're missing one, don't.
If you're still going to put the lectern up there, I'd put it off to either side.
Symmetry matters, I guess. It's more symmetrical having a gap in the middle than a gap on one or the other side.
I guess.
Herschel Walker's a train wreck. His kid hates him.
Did he play pro? I mean, I know he was
Georgia super, he's Hall of Fame Georgia, but yeah, he went pro. I don't know. I don't think he lasted long. Okay.
That's what I was kind of wondering. I don't remember hearing much about him, being another great star when he got to the NFL or anything. We don't have to Google it or anything.
I mean, I want to know because it's a good question.
But I thought it was cool that, Warnock actually had this. I could care less who votes for whom in Georgia.
All right, from NFL.com.
Outside of our thing.
What the fuck? Career stats. NFL.com pulled those other stats down in his info.
But I would say, in most major parties, if you have a third-party candidate, generally you're not even, give them the time of day to even get up and debate them.
Yeah, we just want to have it that bad. All right, so I have to go to Pro Football Reference because NFL.com does not have his stats up.
They canceled him.
Weighted career average, more mileage, draft salary. Herschel Jr. Walker, running back, 6'1", 225. Played at Georgia. Pro career, 187 games, so that's 12, 13 seasons.
Damn.
Drafted to the Cowboys in the 5th round in 1985. So, yeah, Dallas. He was at Dallas. He was at 2 teams in 89. Minnesota for a while, Philly. Played for the Giants and went back to Dallas. So 6 years in Dallas, 3 in Minnesota, 3 in Philly, 1 in New York. So 13-year career. Nothing. No major. Let's see.
All-pro, first team.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah.
So I guess he at least made the Pro Bowl a couple times.
2 years he had some pretty good. Selected the Pro Bowl or something like that. 1988, he had 2,000 scrimmage yards, which is pretty good. That's pretty damn good for a running back. Anyway,
yeah,
13 years in the pro. That might be why his brain's so well scrambled. Because he certainly fucked up.
Oh, I just thought it was uncommon to have Usually it's just the two major parties that are going out and debating.
Yeah.
They actually had one where there was a third-party candidate and one of the other leading candidates.
Probably because they wanted to have a debate, and it's like, well, Herschel's probably not going to show up, so we can't debate nobody.
Well, I think it was originally planned for all three to be there.
Right.
Then, which I think it was a big to-do about. I think for a while, Walker didn't want to debate at all. There's a couple state races that they pretty much negotiated down to just one or two debates.
I mean, a lot of people, especially locally, most Republicans haven't shown up to most anything. Elaine Davis and Kaplan were on Good Morning Tennessee this past Sunday, which I have a hard time. You're WBAR. You're the biggest news channel in town. You have the best studio in town, and you've got guests zooming in.
Care for their app. It's got so few stories.
Yeah, it's not a great app either. I agree with that. I'm just saying though, it's like, you have a studio. You have probably the best studio in Knoxville. Maybe UT's probably got a better one in their their athletics department. But as far as news channels and stuff goes, you have a fantastic studio. Why are these people zooming in? Is that the only way you could get them on? That's how little either you care to put forth the effort or how little they care to be on there, that they're like, well, it's WBR, I have to do it, but I'm not going down to the studio. I mean, hell, you're WBR, you got film crews and shit like that. You could go out and pick a random place and do it in public somewhere. You don't even have to do it in public.
Beach at your office, beach at your house, wherever.
Right. Or at least send your crew out to get a professional line to them instead of it being legitimately their Zoom off of their computer with a stupid fuzzy background that everybody does now.
Right.
It's I don't know, that bothered me. That really bothers me. I get it a year ago, 2 years ago, when we were in full pandemic conversation and shit like that.
It could have just come down to scheduling. I don't know.
Hard
to say.
I think I put a little bit of that on WBR, but I put just as much on the candidates. The candidates don't have to. They can get away with it. We don't.
Same time, as a candidate, you want to get your name out there to as many people as possible.
Right. Some of them, but I can't. She will not. I cannot get a hold of her. Eric Wader won't get back in touch with me for her or the Posey, who's running for District 90 against Gloria. I get zero from trying to get a hold of them. Very, very early pre-primary, somebody on her Facebook feed responded to my request.
You got canceled.
And then I threw a handful of dates out and just, I can't. And then it's like, well, here's another set of dates. Here's another set of dates. Here's another set of dates, and just ghosted. Nothing. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why they wouldn't talk to me.
You're on a no contact list now.
I might be. I wouldn't see why though. That's my point. Every time I've had a Republican candidate on, I get shit for not giving them shit, which says to me that I'm at least trying to be non-biased with what I'm doing. But in the eyes of the people that are giving me shit by not calling them out on things that they've done bad or whatever, I can't remember what it is. I'm proliferating their propaganda or whatever. I've been accused of that a couple times, and it's like, okay, if you say so. But I'm saying though, if that's the comments I get, then I'm pissing off the audience that they want to piss off anyway by having them. So
you're doing something right and wrong,
right?
Depending on your perspective,
right? I wouldn't see why they wouldn't want to come to the show.
Right.
I just don't I don't get it. But I say that. They don't they haven't gotten to date. They haven't done an interview with the Compass guys either, or at least Lane Davis might have, but Posey hasn't. And I don't know what the deal is with that. Why they don't.
Posey's running against Gloria. Is that what you said? And is that the new district?
The new 90. Yeah.
The new 90.
Yeah, which apparently I didn't know this part. Testerman, no. Elaine Davis, unless she moved, her house was in the old 13 that was Gloria's district. Because she ran against Gloria 2 years ago. And then in the redistricting, she's now in 18. And Gloria had to move into 90. But, all accounts, I think 18's the only race. Honestly, I think 18's the only race that has a chance of being any sort of upset. Because I don't know, from what I've gotten from, and this may be why Elaine doesn't come on the show, but what I've gotten from what I've seen, Elaine Davis is not a very likable candidate in a district that seemed to like Eddie Manis pretty well. And so a further right than Eddie Manis's version of republicanism isn't selling well in 18. And I think Kaplan's trying to capitalize on that. So we'll see. I know that I'm not like I don't like my choices. It sucks.
Happens a lot in a lot of races.
That's it. It sucks. So, any of you District 18 listeners out there, write in Lord Seth for District 18. I just want to get more than me. I just don't want to be the only one writing myself in. Just anybody out there, please write me in just so I can feel good about myself. Because I already missed the cutoff to actually do a write-in campaign. But I saw there was like 4 people running for District 15. I don't know. It got weird. Like there's a bunch. Like I got a bunch of stuff on Facebook from some candidates, and it was local districts, and I was like, I don't know who you are. Like not even like I don't know. Like I know what district that is, but I don't remember seeing you on any of the ballots or the primaries or anything like that.
I thought you went to like the election commission and pulled up all the people that had registered.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the Knox County seats at least having anything more than I thought all the Knox County seats except for governor. I mean, governor's got like 9. Yeah. Tennessee House is Harmon. That's who I messed that one up. Burchett and Harmon for the House, Tennessee, or for the federal House. State Senate 5 is McNally unopposed. 7 is Briggs, excuse me. And Brian Langen. I'm not in that district, so I'll hold my tongue. 14 Zachary and Collins. 15's Pete Drew and Sam McKenzie. 16's unopposed Carringer. This one, 19. I don't know who any of those people are. I don't remember seeing any of those. Like, I apparently I just skipped District 19 on my list of people to get a hold of. That might be the problem. I've tried to get a hold of Lafferty. They won't give me the time of day. Try to get a hold of Zachary. Try to get a hold of Briggs. I don't care about McNally. He's running unopposed. I'd probably try Burchett. Burchett and Harmon, that'd be fun. I care about it, but I don't really care about, for the show's sake, trying to get federal seats in here. Yet. Maybe one day. I do think it's interesting.
You said you tried to reach out to Zachary.
I did try to. No, I was talking about the federal House.
U.S. House.
Yeah, U.S. House. I find interesting. Jeopardy has like 2 Governor Lee ads every night. So Jeopardy is now car lots, Governor Lee, and drug ads. That's all that comes on during Jeopardy.
Well, I thought I heard of like some of those ads, like you pay for a certain amount, but I don't know if you always get to necessarily designate. I think you can pick certain time spans, but I think they still kind of move it around and have some kind of leeway of their own of when they squeeze it in. Yeah,
it is not. You don't get to say I want to be the one right after Jeopardy comes off,
right,
or right before Jeopardy comes back from commercial,
or their first commercial break,
right. I think when you get into I would say the 6 to 8 o'clock, the news, local news, national news, Wheel and Jeopardy are probably some of the higher end, cost wise.
Quote unquote prime time, yeah.
And so I would say when you're getting into that high dollar of an ad bracket, you can get pretty specific, but it would be during said ad break, not the first commercial of the ad break or the middle one or the last one or whatever. But at least, I want to be during the break in the beginning part of Jeopardy when they come back and tell you who they are.
I swear I've seen some randomly that were like back to back. And I'm like, did they just get charged for 2 ads
Yeah.
that they just threw in there back to back?
Yeah, well, that's the hard part. Like, we've done radio ads before. I haven't done TV. But doing radio ads, it's really hard to... I mean, it's really... Like, the problem with it, period, is it's super hard to quantify whether it gave you any real return. Like, you do the, hey, just mention the ad and you get 10% off, and that's a way just so you can get numbers.
Right.
But, yeah, like, it's like... They'll tell you... Like, I've gotten emails and be like, hey, this is your schedule for the day. And within, like, a couple minutes... this is when your ad will be, but like with like it'd be like 10:15, 11:42, and they'll give you those breakdowns or whatever. But it's like, I don't know, how do you know who's listening on radio or TV?
Right.
Like, yeah, sure, cable boxes will tell you because they can pull the data, but I don't have cable here at the house. We watch Jeopardy and stuff through the air, so I don't know how they quantify. Oh, well, 65 million people saw this.
The Nielsen family calls you and asks you.
Yeah. I don't even like it's. I don't understand the point of a Nielsen thing anymore, except for crazy people like me who still watch air channels. Like, how many people watch air channels anymore regularly?
Don't know.
I mean, I would think
It's becoming less, yeah.
I mean, we're mad because there's a show that we like that's airing currently that hasn't been on Hulu yet. And we're like, when is it going to come on Hulu?
Well, when am I going to be able to watch it?
We did find a new one, Hugh Laurie. It's called Avenue 5. It's pretty fun. It's a HBO comedy, like sitcom, I guess. It's HBO's version of a sitcom, so it's got language and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty good. Pretty good cast of characters. The dude who does Olaf's voice from Frozen,
Yeah.
he's in there. He's hilarious. But Hugh Laurie's a great character. Like, the character he plays is great. It's like it's a space cruise. It's kind of like it's like the ship in WALL-E that they go to. That's kind of what's going on. Like, it's this super space cruiser that all these people are on. I don't want to give too much plot away. You should watch it, but it's a fun little. It's like the Love Boat in space, sort of.
Okay.
We've been enjoying it very much. City Council's got a bunch of stuff. Apparently, Southside's projects, a bunch of Southside projects are starting. That's apparently what City Council's talking about tomorrow night, Tuesday night.
I kept hearing about random projects. Like, I swore, 2 years ago they talked about doing a large like bus terminal or bus stop somewhere down Chapman.
I can see if I can find the agenda for
I don't know if
more specifics.
if that was just a perspective idea at the time.
Let's see. Let's see what's on the agenda for the meeting. We'll talk about it before the meeting, and it won't release until after, but whatever. October 18th, which is tomorrow, that's right. Appalachian Mountain Bike Club, beer permit. E-Vape Lounge, beer permit. Muse Knoxville, beer permit. Really? Really? That's kind of weird. Chahawi Park and Expo Center, beer permit. Though that's probably why, because they have an event coming up. I bet you that's what it is.
I wonder if it's just for an event.
They got an event coming up that's using that shared parking area, and everybody's got to get on it. Civic Auditorium and Coliseum, beer permit. Huh. Civic Coliseum, Chilhowie Park, St. George Greek Orthodox Church. That's what I'm talking about. Beer permit. The Holistic Connection. You guessed it, LLC. Beer permit. Returning stuff from last meetings, beer permit. Beer board hearings, beer board resolutions, adjournment. Oh, I didn't mean to just get the beer board meeting agenda. Oh, man. Screwed it up.
Done. Amped up.
Regular meeting. There we go.
Call to order.
Ordinances and second readings. An ordinance to amend the operating capital budgets for fiscal year. An ordinance to amend Article 3, Division 2, Sections whatever, the City Code to adjust classification and compensation plan. An ordinance appropriating the sum of $3,000 from community power budget to donating the same to Alpha Mu Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated to implement educational programs designed to impact middle and high school age youth during its district convention. 1500 an ordinance of Crest Knoxville Planning Commission to amend the 2018 major Rome plan. I think most of it's that first one, most of this budget amendment. Because they're moving around, yeah. $5 million to the public safety complex for some brickwork. Urban forestry master plan, $50,000. City county building, waterfront drive capital project, $200,000 plus $100,000. $1.2 million total. Yeah. Ooh, downtown property. Officer has exemptions of $250,000 from downtown Knoxville lines to be added to urban improvement fund project to purchase of $450,000 existing. Ooh. Where is that? $450,000
adjacent to Crutch Park.
For a parking lot adjacent to Crutch Park, the Regions Bank parking lot. Is it that little tiny one?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of where that is. There's a little tiny parking lot between. It's the hotel now, I thought. There's that hotel on Gay Street.
There's a couple of really tall or really small parking lots right around in there within a couple blocks. But
yeah, because most of that all around Crutch Park is all street parking.
Pretty sure.
Huh. Anyway. Boys and Girls Club. Anyway, yeah. So a bunch of money is supposed to go on the south side. That's what I heard.
Yippee skippy.
I don't know how to read an agenda. You know that. But anyway, back to we started all this when we got our cartoon. Our climate change agenda train cartoon. Cat boys, socialism, communism, one way, whatever. There's a donkey who's the conductor, if you know what that means, with a D on his chest. And so I replied, or whomever posted it, son of a bitch, I lost it, said sign me up or something like that. Because it's a Republican cartoon making fun of Democrats. That's what it's supposed to be doing. And whoever said sign me up, and I said, and somebody, I think Tyler Gibbons said, well, how much? How much for a ticket on that train? I said, it's all of it, right? I mean, that's communism in a nutshell. You're all of it goes into the community, right? I thought it was funny.
Yeah. Not
so funny. Okay. These are the jokes.
If you exclude it to just communism, but it said socialism and it said cat boys.
Yeah, I don't know what cat boys cost. I'm saying between communism and socialism, all of your belongings would be the cost to join the community, right?
No.
You don't get to. You have personal stuff?
Yes.
Oh, I thought everything was communal. I thought that's like the base, the root of communism. Educate me. I'm an idiot.
No, fucking look it up.
I want to look it up. I want you to tell me about it.
I mean, if you're going to talk shit about it, then know about it.
Okay. Well, I mean, communism seizes the means of production.
It's essentially kind of like that, but yes, it is. It's
communism.
I think it's more like business, essentially, or like food production, where all of it goes back into a large pile and then gets redistributed.
Right. Communism controls the means of production. That is a core principle of communism, that they would control the means of production. Layman's version would be they own all the businesses. It's not 100% accurate.
They own the businesses. I think I guess they own essentially the goods produced by the businesses per se.
I mean, they control what the business does. They don't own the business per se, but they control what the business does, how much they charge for their goods, how much they pay their workers, and et cetera.
Yeah, I think they could tell you to slow down production if I guess supply is getting too high.
Right.
You're like, hey, we need you to slow down on making bread.
Right.
We got a lot of bread right now.
It would be terrible if it got cheaper.
It's about to start getting moldy.
Right, because we can't change the price to make it cheaper to get more people to buy it. Because we control the control the production is inversely controlling demand.
Right.
And so instead of saying, well, make your bread cheaper so more people will buy it, stop making it so we can keep the price where it is. That would be the functional reason to control production. So by controlling production, you're controlling price. That's why the Saudis stop making oil or stop pumping oil when we need it most, because then they can drive the price up on us.
Yeah. That's the only people we get oil through.
Okay. I'm sorry. That's why OPEC decides randomly to slow production through all the OPEC countries to drive the price of a barrel of oil up. Am I wrong?
They're always adjusting inputs and or not inputs, but they're always adjusting outputs.
Okay.
I don't think this has been a drastic cut, but I don't know it compares in comparison to other cuts.
Okay.
But I think they do it pretty much like Corey. They'll look and see how much is made, what the global supply is looking at. At the same time, they don't want to keep pumping it out because demand went down a good bit in the past couple of years.
Well, I mean, China's still on COVID zero, so it's still down a little bit worldwide.
Yeah.
But
we didn't hear in the U.S. a lot of people, didn't drive through
right, but
a good bit of 2020.
But we've been asking them to produce more, and they keep telling us no. Biden went and asked them to produce more so we could bring the price of gas down. They said no. But that's okay.
Yeah, but we can't force them to do it.
True. You're right.
We can monetarily encourage them, but...
Again, it goes into a bunch of the, I guess, semi-conspiratorial relationship with us and the Saudis over the decades on the implied agreement as we're not going to... We're gonna look the other way on this Yemen thing and other stuff, as long as you keep producing oil for us. But there were Saudis that were definitely part of the planning of 9/11 and part of the actual attacks themselves. Now, to say the government was involved, we don't know if the Saudi government or royal family was involved in it or not. We don't know that part. But there's definitely Saudis involved in it. But it's like, all right, we're not gonna invade you. We're gonna go invade Iraq because of it. But just keep pumping that oil. That was kind of the implicit deal, that, as I understood it, was we'll look the other way on stuff. Just give us the goods, man. I need it.
Possibly.
So, there was a football game. I don't know if you saw that.
Didn't watch it.
It's pretty exciting. Pretty big deal.
Watch the updates of it.
$100,000 fine, and we got to buy new goalposts and put them in. And they got to put a new field down.
Yep.
Tore up about your field. I don't know.
Is it a home game this Saturday?
Yeah. Yeah. UT Martin's in town. It's homecoming.
Leave it muddy. Let's have a muddy game.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. I need to get in touch with the band. I don't think they have my updated contacts. I haven't gotten in the last couple of years. I forgot about it until just now. Usually, mid-September, get a letter from the UT Band Alumni Association inviting you to homecoming. We can go march, get free tickets to the game.
Really?
Yeah. Go do part of the halftime show. And
you get to do part of the halftime show?
Yeah. Get on the field.
Huh.
Yeah. Get to go march a show. And
they tell you to at least wear orange or something? Please don't wear the
I think
colors.
we get a T-shirt.
Okay.
I think it's like khakis and they give us a T-shirt. I think is what it's been. I remember having it a couple times. I remember it being really fun because the old drummers were funny as shit.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe you just got to march with them going down to the stadium or whatever.
Doing
the walk.
The march to the stadium functions, if I remember correctly, was basically two bands. Like it's like two bands in like a Christmas parade. Like the alumni band went, and then the real band went before or after. But yeah, I keep wanting to do it, and every time, like for the first 10 years after I got out of the band, I was always working set game days because that was big money days for me, and so going to the alumni band was not on my agenda. But now I'm old and don't do anything on the weekends, so it's like I want to do something. I want to march in the alumni band now. Need to do that.
Reach out to them, give them a call.
Yeah, it's too late for this year because it's this week, but they might have changed some of the stuff they do. They might not do as much as they used to.
It's true.
Don't know. Called a couple of years ago.
Like you can come down for a before game meet and greet if you can find somewhere to park.
It was like 4 years ago. I called during band camp because I was trying to figure out when the dress rehearsal day was, because one of the later days in band camp is dress rehearsal. They do the march to the stadium, they do the salute to Hill, and then they go in and do a rehearsal in the stadium. And it's open to the public. And so I wanted to take the kids down and let them see band stuff. And we did that. I got a call to the band office, and they're like, yeah, it's this day and that day. It's like, cool, thanks. So took the kids down.
Nice.
Had a good time. Love the band. Band's the best thing ever. Speaking of, you're going to buy some popcorn for my son because he's got to sell popcorn for band.
Do I?
Yeah.
All right.
Doesn't have to be expensive. It might be expensive. I don't know. It's a weird... I'm trying to figure out what this fundraiser is. exactly, but it's the middle school band fundraiser. And it had to be fucking popcorn. I've been selling popcorn for Scouts for the last month. Thought I was done with it.
That's all these people know how to sell. So beer went to fruit, which I thought was kind of odd. They're selling just like fresh fruit for the past handful of years.
Well, we did the car wash all the time too.
Right.
That was the big one, as I recall.
I think they still do that. I think this is just like supplemental, basically.
I remember selling frozen pizzas when I was a kid.
That's weird.
Like elementary, middle school. I can't remember what it was for.
I can't remember doing like chocolate bars for middle school.
Chocolate bars. I did see a funny meme on that. It was like, I see here on your resume that you say you have 21 years of sales experience. You're only 26 years old. Help me understand. It's like, I went to public schools, man. I've been selling my whole life. I was like, nice. That's a good one.
That's right. It's coupon book season and everything too.
Yep. Which I called them this year to try to get a coupon. And I missed the deadline or whatever. But to get in the book is free. I figured it was like $100 or something like that. Not a crazy number.
Right, because essentially they're advertising for you.
Right. But your payment as the advertiser is to have something worth, give a $3 coupon because that's going to help sell more books because you got a $3 coupon to buddies or whatever.
Right.
So if the deal is you have to give a good coupon so that it encourages people to buy the books. Which again, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we could do one for the shop. I think that'd be inappropriate.
I doubt Knox County schools would allow it.
Yeah. There's other things like I could do. Like I thought about doing I would like to do a parade float for the production company, and get the Compass guys out and do like a simulcast show on a trailer on a float during the parade. I just don't feel like I can pull that all together in time. But then at the same time, like, what am I going to give away as the coupon? Because it's literally just going to be a page in the book that says, check out Barbarian Productions. They do cool stuff. Nothing, it's all free. Everything we do is free.
Call me and I'll shout your name out.
Right. Well, I mean, I could give like 10% off. I could give like a $25 off coupon for your show if you want to produce your own show. And I could do that. I mean, I've got 6 YouTube channels now that I manage. None of which are doing amazingly well. Both kids have YouTube channels. We have a gaming channel. And it's pretty cool. Like I got it all figured out. So like, I can have the screen so it's the game. And then I won't let my kids put their face on YouTube. They're not allowed to. But I know how to do it if I wanted to put them in the corner of the screen like a lot of the gamers do on TV.
Right.
Like I know how to do it. I got the green screen and stuff like that. So it'd just be their floating head if they wanted to do it. I need to get legal. I need to get somebody legally involved if I'm going to have kids. Because that gets weird with the kids on the YouTube.
Well, kids do it already. I don't know if you'd have to sign off a waiver.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I would be making money off of child labor at that point, and that's why it gets weird.
See.
As
far as you technically have the money just go directly into a trust. It doesn't go into you.
Well,
an account that's in.
Well, it depends how we set it up. If
right.
they get big enough where they're getting getting YouTube ads pushed in where they're getting paid from YouTube, that would be their money. The way I would set it.
Right.
It depends. I have different formats, but one of the formats, especially if it's kid involved, that's them. Them and their parents can figure that out. I just charge a service fee to use the room and the amount of time they want to use and how much effort it takes me to produce their show and put it on. Like if it's a very low effort show, it's literally just my time to sit here and make sure it's recording and streaming properly. But anyway, I don't know. Next year I'm going to do at least one coupon in the coupon book. I'm not sure what. Might try to get the Compass guys to do one for the paper and their podcast together. Because it'd be a good way. I mean, because everybody, for them, everybody leafs through it once.
Not sure how you could do it, though.
You have to do a code.
But then anyone that has access to that has that code.
That's fine.
Which I guess they probably wouldn't mind.
Right. Right.
Many more people signing up.
Right. If only one coupon book is sold, but 50 people sign up using the code.
Right.
Oh, well. I think they'll be plenty happy with that. As long as it's not people canceling subscriptions and then resubscribing with the discount. But it's an annual subscription. They're the worst. They're the worst kind of subscriptions. Like, I like annual because they're cheaper. But like we have it's this math and reading game that the kids were playing a lot, especially through the pandemic time when we were all stuck at home and they had their Chromebooks at home. And it's an approved software by Knox County, so you can actually play it on their Chromebooks and not get in trouble. And so we bought them like the advanced membership to it. Like the one that they get through the school is real basic, but you can get special characters and all this different stuff with extra money. And they were really digging on it. And it's math and reading skills practice. No matter how you play the game, it forces you to do some educational parts. So, we paid for the annual subscription, and they haven't played in like 6 or 9 months. And I totally forgot about it. And I was looking at my credit card bill. $90 annual subscription. Oh, fuck.
Right.
And what sucked is I thought I was being smart too, because we have a bunch of stuff, and that card expired. So I was like, the card's expired. It doesn't matter. Well, the new card is the same card with a new expiration date. It's the same number.
Right, but they shouldn't be able to still charge it.
The card's still getting charged. That's a good point. I don't know. I got to figure it out. It's one of those things. It's just like 2 years ago, I got pissed off with passwords. I was just getting so frustrated with how many things have passwords. And so I made an Excel spreadsheet, and I've got it encrypted or whatever, so you have to have a password to get into it.
Right.
But then it's just a list of all my passwords for all my different things. And then it's a list of each kid's passwords and all their different things. And then stuff that the whole family uses and all this stuff. It's just this huge, 300-point spreadsheet of all these fucking passwords for all these different things. I need to do that same just fuck it breakdown on subscriptions and services and all this different stuff. Audible's a bitch, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, Audible's hard to cancel. Like, I canceled it. Then 3 months later, I got a 1-month bill. Huh. And then it just started billing regularly again.
That's why I stick to the free stuff. Can't charge me. It's free, bitch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the nice thing about the thing with Audible though is the subscription gets you like one title a month. Like you get a point or whatever, and almost all the books, unless they're brand ass new, are 1 point. And so it ended up being like a year of me paying the monthly without doing anything. So I had like 12 or 15 points. And the last couple of weeks, the missus has started using it, and so we haven't had to pay for any titles since we got it back. She's just using all the points, and so we're just paying for our monthly basically. But we're using it, and that's fine. I don't mind that one. But like different games, like that game I was talking about, like they used to be super into Fortnite, and so we let them get this battle pass. It's like $15 a month battle pass thing, and like it was a big deal, and they loved it, and it was exciting. And it was like, oh, when's the new battle pass come out? Can't wait to the thing says new battle pass out tomorrow. Can't wait for tomorrow and all the new cool stuff we get with the battle pass. And then now they're kind of waned off playing it, but it's still kicking out every month. And I just need to go through and just point by point find every single one of these. Because I think we have some at the shop, too, that are old that we don't use anymore that still get charged.
Really?
Yeah. And then, like, Hulu, Disney, and ESPN, I think, have a bundle now. And so, like, I have all three of those separately.
So you got to figure out how to bundle them.
Right.
Get that savings.
Right. Because, like, yeah. And then Apple TV's got a new, like, there's a new Apple TV Plus, which it's like an Apple bundle, which gets you Apple Music, Apple TV, and Apple Arcade, which is worthless. But I have TV, and we use Apple Music. And I think each one's $10, or the bundle is $15. So what I actually use of it, it'd save me $5, and I get games that I probably wouldn't use. It's just a pain in the ass. Like, it's just constant.
That's why I still can't get behind the streaming services. It's just like, no thanks. I'll miss out on
Apple
some
Music's
shit.
worth it.
I'll catch up on it from time to time.
It's what I don't know. For the most part, they've all been worth it. They come in waves. Like Apple TV, especially. Like Apple TV,
Apple Music, you just get essentially like their streaming version of Spotify, Pandora, basically, or you get free albums per month as well.
I mean, Apple, you don't own anything if you're buying Apple Music. Instead of like, you don't have to download or do anything. You just random, like, I feel like listening to Purple Rain right now, and you just go search Purple Rain. You can listen to the album. You can listen to the single song. You can go through the entire Prince catalog. You can do whatever you want. You can download it to your phone. So if you don't have internet service, you have access to it. But it's like $10 a month, and I think we're actually paying more than that because we had to get the family service version of it because the kids are now getting into music. And so it was this pass around of, hey, who's on Apple Music? I'm going to listen right now. And so we're all kind of fighting over it. But that one's Apple Music. Apple Music is probably the number one for me that I think's worth it. Because I listen all the time. And I just go and like...
Pull up anything on YouTube and listen to that same song for free.
It's true. It's true. I don't know. Have they started to interrupt? That's the only thing I haven't noticed. Like, I haven't tried. I haven't looked. Like, everything else, you watch any videos on... Like, if they're not... Well...
Yeah, I almost always have that little ad in there. Just like, whatever, I can put up with some
right,
shit
but
for 10 seconds.
But like, on a video, like, it just seems to be, like, in the middle of a video. Now, I've not listened to a lot of music on there. The songs...
Some of them do that. I think it depends on, I guess, how popular that video is. Or I guess if you're watching something that
if I'm jamming
a lot of
out,
people are watching, YouTube's going to throw more of those ads in there. Because
there's more eyeballs and that's all they care about.
Right.
I would say if you're jamming out to something and all of a sudden it's like State Farm,
right,
I'm going to be pissed. Like, if you're really digging on it. Like, if it's a concert or if it's an album and it's between songs, okay. But if it's just, like, right in the middle of a song, that's really annoying. And I like Pandora. I like the free Pandora.
Put up with it for free.
I use free Pandora all the time.
Right.
You can't be super specific. If I want to listen to this song right now, no.
Right.
But, for, mowing the lawn or doing dishes or whatever, just turn it on and just let it kind of chill in the background.
Well, I found some really cool bands doing that way. Of it just letting it play
and
other artists that are close to it.
Yeah, I found, what did I find?
And even if an ad comes on, if you back out of that, just click a different channel, I'm pretty sure that ad goes away and it'll just start playing music again.
Oh, I've never tried that.
Done it a few times. I think every once in a while it's caught me, and like when I switch to the new channel, it'll still try to play a commercial.
Yeah. I know, like, I know it's smart enough that if you exit the app, like, all the way, like, swipe up and whatever, and go right back in, it'll be right where it was in the ad. It doesn't pause the ads on that side, but...
Bastards.
But, I mean, I think... But to me, like, we've got a bunch of different stuff. We've got more than we should, and we need to do some audit of the house or whatever, but across the board, we're spending like $50-$60 a month, which 10 years ago, I would have been spending $60-$80 a month easy on cable service to watch the TV that I watch, and or buying albums and albums and albums.
I kept seeing ads for something like YouTube Premium. It was like $100 a month. But yeah, I know they've got like... they've got their own TV shows.
Right, and they've got live TV. They got some sports on there, too.
Yeah.
I watched a bunch of football a couple weekends ago, like just regular football games on YouTube. It's kind of fun. I got the kids' Oculus out and watched football in VR.
Really?
It's not really VR. Like, it's not like you're in the middle of the field. It's really like there's a projection TV.
Right.
But you can adjust the size on whether it's like you're right in front of a 20-foot screen or it's way back or whatever. But it was kind of fun. That headset gets a little heavy after a little while, though. Like, just, it's like, okay.
Move this shit around.
Yep. You're supposed to talk, man.
Yep. You
ready for that?
Sure.
Beer run.
BEE.
This beer run brought to you by eBay Pouch. Getting their beer permit tomorrow. Again.
And they were saying in with UT getting fined $100,000. The last time it happened was like 2016 when I guess we did it at Thompson Bowling Arena. But it's not uncommon that fans storm the fields. So,
in the grand scheme of things, no. It's not been a common occurrence.
They always talk about down at Georgia, about it damaging the hedges or whatever, because they've got those nice hedges that line the field.
It is not a common occurrence here.
Right.
Or around here, or any one particular school, it's not a common occurrence.
It seemed like it made national news that we were getting fined $1,000 for this.
I think there's a lot more to it than that. It's Alabama getting beat by Tennessee for the first time in that many years. Alabama losing is almost national news by itself, at least in the sports world.
Right. Now, one of the headlines was just a headline for the story was talking about us getting fined.
Yeah. And I mean, I think for NCAA football and or the SEC or whatever, it's important that they get that out there. That's like, hey, we understand you're excited, but this shit ain't free. You don't just get to do that. It's not okay. Don't make that a normal thing. Because, okay, one time $100,000 ain't that much. Got 8 home games a year.
Well, they said this next time, and I'm assuming, I guess there's some kind of, if you have so many violations within like a 10-year period, pretty sure they said our third offense goes up to $250,000.
Yeah.
And $250,000 for each one after that.
Yeah. Right. So that's
I'm
what
assuming
I'm
there's some kind of cutoff if something happens within 10 years.
Right.
Not like, oh, you remember 20 years ago when you had that fuck up? Well, now it's $250,000.
Yeah, and I think they're making the point. I think that's part of what the national story is about. Is the SEC and or college football at large is trying to make the point. Hey, it's not okay. You can't do this regularly. It's a way for them. It's a way for them to try to get it out to fan bases nationally that there's a cost to doing these things.
Yeah, apparently it's just there. I forget what exactly the rule is, but I guess essentially a safety thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Like I watched somebody had like a video that they did off their phone and posted to Facebook of them taking it down. There's like two guys up on like the little riser part of it, like just sitting on it, and they managed to pull it down sideways, so they didn't have it flop forward. They managed to pull it down sideways, so one of the goalposts is on the ground, and they're pushing on what was the crossbar, trying to get it to come off the stand. And when it finally did, that other pole came. I was like, "Holy shit! Yeah. You get thunked with that. That's going to do some damage." We saw a pretty bad accident on our way home from the wedding post game. Speaking of people getting hurt, yeah, pickup truck and a motorcycle.
Damn,
that's pretty bad. It's pretty scary. Don't know what happened. Don't know what do you do? Like, do you stop? It's already like 5 people stopped, pulled off off the side of the road.
Yeah, I'd say if there were people already stopped, I mean, unless you had
right. If I'm like the first car and I see it in action, okay, yeah.
Or you have medical training or whatever, and you're like, hey, let me see if anybody needs, I'm first responder trained or whatever.
Yeah. There's a shooting. Guy got shot in the hands.
Saw that.
Which I would think, that was like the only way I think, like, unless it's some weird thing that they're like, put your hands out and they shoot him in the hands. I would think that would be like the protective, like I've got my hands up, like, hey, don't shoot. And like they start to fire and the guy kind of ducked, but his hands were still up. I think that would, to me, is you were trying to shoot the person and the hands were in the way. Like, I don't know how you'd shoot hands. It just seems weird. That's the only way I can imagine that happening, I guess is what I'm saying. Unless it was some weird, like...
Could be a weird ricochet or something.
Yeah, sure. But that was weird. I was
I don't think there was any like robbery or assault or anything else involved in it, because it's in the parking lot. I think it was like the liquor store.
Taco Bell? I thought it said Taco Bell, behind the Taco Bell.
Yeah, I thought I saw something that was in like a liquor store parking lot. But then whoever it was that fired the weapon, I guess, was able to blend in with the rest of the crowd.
Right. I'm sure if you're wearing an orange T-shirt, you're going to blend in okay.
Right.
I
wonder if they're going to try to get the goalpost out of the river.
I guess they'd have to. I think
they would at least try.
I mean, they're not going to try. They're not going back up. They're broken.
Right.
Which, I mean, I'm sure they have a dozen floating around somewhere on campus. Like they have. I mean, the practice facility probably has. I mean, obviously has full size uprights, so in a pinch they could pull them out of the practice facility.
Right.
But yeah, I think they'd pull it out of the river. That's a good question. We should do some investigating. Call the TWRA.
Yeah, I mean, that's technically $10,000 fine or whatever for littering in Tennessee waterway.
Wonder who would be...
Be hard to prosecute who exactly did it.
Right. Who would be the agency in charge?
500 fingerprints all over it.
Yeah. I wonder who the agency in charge of that would have to be. Like, who's jurisdictionally in charge? Like, it's a state waterway, so...
Let's say TWRA.
State parks. Yeah, that's a good question. Not the trying to press charges part, but like whether or not they can pull it back out.
I'm assuming they would at least try, because I mean, you have that cruise ship that goes up and down it. Which obviously, they probably weren't able to throw it into the middle of the river, but it's.
I mean, I saw a video of that too. Like it was like right on the edge. They were all like, but still, I mean, talk about people getting hurt. I didn't see
the video of it.
People getting hurt really easy. It's like that.
Where's their opening big enough in the stadium to get it out of the stadium anyway?
The tunnel.
And this isn't the first time they've done it.
I mean, there's the tunnel. There's 2 tunnels on either end of the field. They're pretty big.
Is it that wide, I guess?
Yeah. It was actually kind of, one of the videos I saw that was actually kind of impressive in the mob scene that was going on is there was a guy riding on top and the mob's pushing it through the tunnel and there's a gate. There's a post in the way, basically. And he's up there. He's like, you got to move this way. And the whole crowd kind of shoves around this way, gets it around the gate, and then keeps moving. I was like, that's pretty impressive. That's got to be a couple, like at least 100 people are all in there holding on and then pushing it around, and even another couple of hundred people in front and behind it, just there, kind of following it around. It's like you got the whole crowd, because that's how you get people crushed, is they're all going one way and there's a thing in the way.
Right.
You know, and so they're like, no, we got to go this way. It's like, well, I can't because there's 100 people pushing from behind. But like the guy was up there, was like, rah, 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 he was giving directions and stuff, and like they were responding and moved around the thing and then continued on. It's like, that's pretty impressive. But I mean, they had to get him in, so they have to have somewhere big enough to get him out. That would be the solution, though, to not have them. But I mean, I guess once they're down, it doesn't matter. They're ruined.
Yeah.
Just like put a big single beam right in the middle of each tunnel and make the ceiling low enough that it can't fit underneath.
Well, I would assume they were in 2 or 3 pieces anyway, even before like a brand new one when they bring it in. I don't think they bring it in fully assembled.
I know one went all the way down the strip.
Right.
One portion of it or something went all the way down the strip.
Yeah, I saw some news thing, and people had like 2 and 3 foot chunks of it.
I would if I could get my hands on one. I would put it up here with my national championship panorama. I mean, I don't know. I am not a dieharder by any means, but it's pretty exciting. I mean, it's exciting to be like, 'cause I remember when I was a student, when I was working on campus, when I was in the band, that was on the way down. You know, I was in the band in 2000, 2001, 2002, and that was when we were coming off of the 98 national championship. And we were on we were starting the downhill still with Fulmer, and then the coaching carousel came in, and it's been, you know, we haven't had a really good Alabama, LSU, you know, SEC East winning football team in a long time. And it's I'm excited about it as a passive fan. You know, I'm not changing my plans for next weekend to make sure I can watch the game, just like I didn't change my plans this weekend. But, you know, it's exciting. It's good for business. It's good for the overall economy of Knoxville. Like, it is good for hotels. It's good for bars and restaurants. All the people that work in those places.
Yeah, apparently it's a thing to smoke a cigar after an
just,
Alabama game. Or
just the Alabama game, yeah.
Just the Alabama game for whatever reason, yeah.
I mean, there's a case in point. I bought a pack of cigars, cheap pack of cigars, but I bought a pack of cigars to take with me to this wedding so that if we won the game, I could smoke a cigar for the wedding. No, the game. Both. But if the game wasn't part of it, I wouldn't have bought the cigars. You know, celebrate the dude's wedding, sure. But like I was like, I want to make sure I have a cigar. So like after the game was over, wedding gets interrupted because everybody's on their phones checking the score. Like, it was after the ceremony. It was during dinner. Oh, we win! Everybody starts cheering and yelling and screaming and all that kind of stuff. I pulled the cigar out of my pocket. Just kind of chewed on it for the rest of the night. I didn't smoke it in the tent with everybody. I just had it. It's like, I don't smoke cigars. I haven't smoked cigars. Like, I smoked one for the baby a couple of years ago. Probably, I don't know when I smoked a cigar prior to that, so. But yeah, I mean, it's good for, it's good for all sorts of stuff. Locally, it's I don't know if it's unfortunate or not. It's a weird. That's an interesting conversation, I guess. Like, it sucks that, especially campus, the Strip, downtown, and downtown's not as affected as it used to be, but Old City. Like, it sucks that the quality of the university's athletics has a marked impact on the city's economics. It's just a fact.
I think it's just partially it puts people in a good mood after a winning game. And we're like, hey, let's go out and celebrate. Or, hey,
right, but that's what I'm saying. But that has direct effects on the economy of Knoxville. That's my point. It's like, whether it's good mood, bad mood, whatever the mood is, it's the bottom line is money is being spent on Knoxville businesses. Whether it's McDonald's on the Strip or Hannah's or any of the old school bars that are still left down there. I don't remember anything. I haven't been down there in so damn long. I know Crystal's is gone. That's how bad it is down there. It's been on campus. Crystal's can't survive on a college campus. But every business down there had a record day. You know, and I'd say even past that, I'd say you'd have bars and restaurants all over town that had killer days that they don't usually get because of that football game. And we'll have a good weekend. We'll have good weekends continuing as long as we keep winning. When we lose to Georgia, there'll be a marked drop-off, but it'll still be good because we're not out of the whole national championship conversation because Georgia's going to be number one all the way through, and blah, blah, blah. But the economics is major. It just is. And it's weird. Like, I could see it both ways. Like, I like that downtown Old City is not as dependent on as it used to be.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, is that just a shifting of where people are spending money?
I would think so.
I mean, yeah, you'll have some people coming in from out of town, but, kind of like they talked about with the stadium and that kind of tax-free zone. It was like, oh, it's going to bring in so much money, but...
How much of it is just reshow?
Yeah, how much is that, people that live out in far west Knox County, instead of going out to a restaurant out there, they went downtown and went to a restaurant.
Right. But
they're still spending money in the quote-unquote, city's coffers or whatever.
Yeah, no, I hear what you say for sure. And I think it's an interesting... That'd be an interesting... research project in economics.
It's really hard to quantify that. You'd have to find people.
Well, I mean, it would be anecdotal at best. I think no matter how you slice it. Yes, there is a market increase in sales tax versus the year before, but there's 1,000 things that go into why sales tax would go up. I mean, we're in an inflationary period anyway. A gallon of milk is 65 cents more than it was the same time last year. So that's what that's a nickel more in sales tax revenue. Just to buy a gallon of milk. So sales tax revenue is going to be up against last year anyway. So it's like that's part of the problem is how do you do the comparable? I mean, you can do gross receipts if you get with the Department of Revenue, I suppose. You could see exactly how much is being reported from different businesses. You could go in and talk to business owners and stuff like that. Because I know, like, I was watching or I was listening to the radio out running errands Saturday before the wedding. And I was listening to the Game Day All Day or whatever, 98.7 Sports Animal or whatever it is. And they had a trivia question. They were, I don't know, wherever they set up on campus, they were walking around the crowd, asking the crowd if they knew the answer to this trivia question. And like the first 3 people they talked to were outside of Knox County. It's like from Billy from Harriman and George from Anderson County and Rebecca from Monroe County or something like that. Like the first handful of people were not local. But they weren't Alabama fans either. And so I would assume that if you're a Harriman UT fan, you're not coming into as many games when UT is not as good. You might be a diehard and come to every game no matter what's going on. But I don't know.
Or maybe come into town, not even go to the game, but just want to be
in the
Knoxville
area.
for it, see a bunch of the other fans.
All right, but even that, though, that Harriman person is likely... stopping at a grocery store.
Spend some money here.
Getting beer, getting burgers, getting hot dogs, getting ribs, getting whatever they're tailgating with, getting their charcoal, filling up their gas tank, doing all the other stuff. Gas tank, I guess, doesn't matter tax-wise. But, so, I would think... But
again, is that it's probably the same amount of money that Billy would have spent in Harriman versus just spend it here over the weekend versus spending it in Harriman.
Well, for the city of Knoxville, it makes a difference whether they spend it in Harriman or here. Right. For the state of Tennessee, it doesn't. Which does get into some of the questions on why would the state contribute so much to a baseball stadium, and most likely all of that would have been state tax revenue anyway. Because that one you're 100% right on. They had to have... I mean, Peyton doesn't stay in cheap hotels. He was in a nice hotel, I bet you.
Oh, yeah.
Game day crew, I think, had campers. One of the churches down there, like that church row on Kingston Pike before you get down to campus.
Yeah.
What was I doing? I was driving back from the meeting we had on Friday with Austin, and we took Kingston Pike down because the interstate was backed up. And there was a little yellow sign on a cone that said crew, and with an arrow pointing into this parking lot. I was like, what's that? That's weird. And I kind of look over in the parking lot, and there was like 5 or 6 fifth-wheel campers and like 4 or 5 like box trucks, Ryder box trucks or whatever. I was like, oh, I bet you that's the ESPN crew. That's all their equipment and stuff, and then that's their talent trailers. And they're going to drive them to the set from here day of.
I remember seeing it a couple of years ago when I was doing a delivery down to campus. And they had their big like tour bus that was kind of right there on that big, huge...
Circle Park?
No, it's not Circle Park. It's big concrete like right outside the stadium. I guess right across from the library.
Gate 21 or whatever? Yeah.
I guess, yeah. It's just kind of like a big open kind of plaza.
Yeah.
I think it was like apartment complex buses. I remember sitting out there, I guess, in the middle of that plaza as well. I guess where they pick people up, pick students, take them back to and from, and have like a shuttle service to and from apartment complexes.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys aren't on the road. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Parking over here because we got a thing going on.
I guess.
That's where the band goes into between all that mess. That's a huge gate, though. Like, you want to talk about, like, somewhere you could get a goalpost out? Right there. Because the band goes in right there onto the field, and then we go around the edge of the field because where the band enters the stadium and where the band is sat during the game is the opposite corner. And so we'd go in and go around the field, go sit down, get back up, go on the field, do pregame, then go back up. Post 9/11, man, we used to get to the stadium like an hour before kickoff. Post 9/11, it went to 2.5 hours before kickoff. Damn. Was pregame. Like, we had to be down for the march to the stadium and all that stuff was 2.5 before kickoff. Because security, especially those first couple games after, security was so much higher that it took forever. Right. Not to get the band in, we just walked straight in. But to get all the fans and stuff in.
And process everyone coming in.
Right, and whatever the new security measures were. So, yeah, that was I don't know. I mean, I get it, but, man, those early season games, full wool suit, and it's 95 degrees outside, another hour. Not fun. Back in my day,
I only had to do it for a year when I was in high school.
They take their fucking jackets off now. We never got to take our jackets off for anything.
Yeah, I couldn't take ours off.
Like, we have class, like, we had our Class B shirt. I can't remember what it's called now. We all got a T-shirt as part of being in band. It's like once everybody had the same T-shirt, or whatever, and it's supposed to always be your undershirt when you're in uniform, part of your uniform. And it was always like, well, if we take our jackets off for any reason, we're all still matching. Okay, cool. So we all wore things, and never took our jackets off for anything. Like, it pissed me off. It sucked.
Yeah, I think the only thing we got to take off with our crazy old school band uniforms was the plumes. Was the only thing they got put onto our helmet/hats.
Yeah, we took
the halftime show, and then at the end of the halftime show.
Oh yeah, we took ours off after the halftime show. Like, we wore them to the stadium, we wore them in the stands, but after halftime they would collect them, and then we didn't have to do it, which is weird because, like, the plumes, I have one still somehow. I don't remember where it is, but like, they were super or whatever. But, like, we just walked out of the stadium at the end of the game. Like, we didn't march back. We didn't stay as a group. Like, away games we did because we all had to get on a bus and go to the hotel together. But, home games, just walked out. I always had to walk back to the band room because I had my drum. Right. I wasn't taking my drum home. But, like, it's like, especially the trumpets and the piccolos and stuff like that, they just go home. They go back to their dorms or wherever their car was parked to go back to their apartment or whatever. Just scatter amongst campus. It's safer, I guess, because we're at home and it's our people. And so we always went, I was back to the band room, dropped my drum off. We used to hang out for a little bit and then went on where we were going from there. Band was awesome. I loved me some band. Hockey season has officially started.
Yep.
There's, like, I wish I was better. I'm sorry, dude. I really do wish I was better at following hockey with you. Because I've seen like 2 or 3 games, and it's like,
there's an app for that.
I know, and I mean, I check scores and stuff, but it's like, I get updates. Like, I get final scores on Pens games and Preds games. Like, I'll get a message on my phone that says Predators and whoever started just now.
Right.
It's like, okay, cool. Or I'll get Pens and whoever just started right now. And then at the end of the game, I'll get final score, blah, 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 blah. And every time I look, like, it seems like every time I get it, it's final score, somebody 7, Preds 2. Like, it's been Preds losing. Like, man, they're having a rough start. And then I go look at their
They're 2-2.
Yeah, I go look at their thing.
Yeah, they won their first 2 games, the last 2 games. Yeah, the first game was like 4-1, I think. And the most recent game was 5-1.
Oh, did I tell you my most favorite new stat of the year?
What's that?
Pittsburgh. What is it? It's like 16th season now. Crosby's been there.
Oh,
it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's the first time he scored the first goal of the season.
Huh. Well, they said he's on like a 3-game, or I guess maybe 2. Like, I guess since the season has started, he's had at least 3 points in their first 2 or 3 games they've had so far.
Right. I think the I think I just saw it there. 2-0-1. They lost tonight in overtime, so that's the last number. Tonight he had 2 goals and 4 assists. Is that true? No, that's the game the other night. What are we looking at? Oh, no, they're 2-0. 2-0-1, yeah. Overtime loss. I don't know what I'm looking at. Here we go. He did not score tonight.
Born in 1847.
Whoa. Did you watch any of that Behind the Glass series?
No, I have not. I'm sorry. I do want to watch it.
It was kind of cool that they featured him this year. I think it's only like 4 episodes they're doing total.
Sid got no points tonight.
But you get to see like a little bit of behind the scenes. One of the clips they actually had, the Nashville coaches, some of the Milwaukee coaches, which is their AHL affiliate team, but it was them kind of like talking about kind of the preseason or training camp of what they thought about certain guys, how they thought they were looking, how they were progressing.
They had a rough year last year too. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I'm into it. I'm confused because we got a Comcast account for the news story. I got that all set up. We got our internet up and running over there. So like I have a login to log into our account, pay the bill, all that kind of crap. Which, if it's a residential account, that login also lets you log into different apps. Because, it's not supposed to be that you're watching it at a different place, like if you're watching on your phone. Because you're at a stupid wedding or something like that. And it worked for like half the day Saturday. And then, at some point Saturday, it just stopped working. And I was really confused because I was going to get it on the Bailey's Sports app so I could watch more games, and I was going to see if I could get whatever apps available to watch a few more hockey games here and there than I've gotten to watch in the last couple of years.
Right.
And it's not working anymore. I don't think it's supposed to work. I think I was just kind of got lucky and they figured it out and fixed it. Because commercial accounts aren't supposed to get it.
Huh.
I don't think.
Because they don't expect the business to travel.
I don't know. I only paid like twice as much, 2 or 3 times as larger bill for the same services, but...
Right. You would think you would be able to kind of link all of them together and be like, hey...
I need to talk about that. If they do have enterprise services, I just don't know. I haven't asked them. I'm going to call them the next couple of days or weeks or so and call them and be like, hey, I got 3 locations. 2 of them use your service. Is there any advantage to me getting my third store on that and you're going to give me a discount across the board? I'm going to be happier for it. And if the answer is yes, then we'll discuss it. If the answer is like, no, you can just get, our service is better or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm good with what I got.
We offer great reliability, blah, 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 blah. Exceptional speeds.
Yeah, I want less money.
Right.
Or more speeds for the same amount of money, which might be the sales pitch I might take. But like the North Store, we only pay like $75. The West Store, we pay like $120. Now the new store, we're going to be paying $250 plus $10 per cable box.
Shit.
Which at least short term, we only have 1 cable box. But I'm excited about it. I got my wiring chart all figured out. Got to go up there and get in the ceiling. I might need to borrow your ladder. How tall is your ladder? So 16-foot ceiling, and I got to get up with my head in it. So it's got to be a 10-foot ladder. I need a 10-foot ladder.
Yeah, it is.
Not in the A-frame form.
Not in the A-frame form now.
Yeah.
Wait. No, even in the A-frame, it goes up pretty damn tall.
Really? I got to figure something out. Because I got to get up in there and run. I got 1,000 foot. I got a box of 1,000 feet of Cat 6 cable.
That's because it extends out to a regular kind of just, I guess, extension.
Yeah,
ladder.
that's like 20 feet.
Right.
But, yeah, because I use that on the back of the house to change the light.
Do you have like a wall you need to go up into, or you need to go straight up kind of in the middle of a room?
A good chunk of the work's going to be on the walls, but I have to span. Because essentially what I'm doing is I'm running, so HDMI is no good over about 10 feet. So if you're trying to run HDMI like 50 feet across a room, there's a ton of signal loss. And so the solution is you get these little boxes, and it's HDMI on one side and Ethernet Cat 6 on the other. And that Ethernet will go 150, 200 feet, no problem.
Right.
And so I'm going to run Ethernet through the ceiling. Like I'm really excited about the plan. It's going to be, that part is because I got to run 2 all the way across the ceiling and then 2 down one wall. The down one wall will be pretty easy, but the 2 across the ceiling is going to be the hard one. I brought my snake down today. I got to get the snake wired in. That's going to be fun. That's going through the floor.
I would think in the A-frame you can get up pretty damn high.
Oh, we'll figure it out. I'm not worried about it. It's not the end of the world. It's if that's the biggest problem I have with this install, I'm going to be a happy camper. Because I'm trying to get...
So I think with you standing up on like the top 2 rungs, you'll still be 4 feet above that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should be tall enough.
With my hand raised. I mean, I just need to get a stick, too. I need to go pay... I just need to pay the $30 for the electrician's fishing rod. And then just... So I can just push it all the way through and then go all the way to the other side of the room, and I don't have to... Or at least halfway across the room, and then just get one in the middle and then do it again. Because I'm going to run the 2 across the room as a pair and then split them when I get to their side. I'm not going to try to run them directly to their ends because I don't care. The distance is not a problem. I could run them through the basement, but I don't want to do that. Seems like a problem. I don't know what else we got. We got, this is an interesting one. The city and county are splitting up their planning. So we have the Metropolitan Planning Commission or Knox County Planning Offices currently. And it's one of those, like, functionally nothing really changes except who the planning commission, not the planning commissioners. The planning commission is still a 15-member and will remain a 15-member appointed body. Each mayor, I think the county mayor gets 8, the city mayor gets 7. That's staying the same. But the actual, that's a volunteer thing, whatever. The actual played city and county planners are getting split. They used to be under the planning commission, and now they'll be under each mayor's office, which is, I find it interesting. They went in the 70s or something like that, and it went in the 70s on the assumption that Knoxville is going to be, we're going to go metro eventually, so let's go ahead and get planning on the same page. And so now we're splitting up. So my metro pitch is seeming less and less likely.
It's falling apart.
I don't. Again, I understand the arguments from the mayors. Both mayors kind of said it's more efficient this way because these candidates like my planners will work with my city engineering office and my city development office and all these other things who they were going to work with anyway, but this will keep them next to each other in offices and working together more often and stuff like that, because I think the plan for the city is to actually put them in the engineering office, where Mayor Jacobs is going to have them as separate office, but same idea. They work with Parks and Rec. They work with all the different departments in the county instead of having this one group that's in a standalone thing, and then as an issue arises, they go to the city or the county, depending on who it is, because city has different zoning regulations, county has different zoning regulations.
Right.
And so instead of having these people know both city and county regs, this set will know city, that set will know county, and they will work accordingly. I just don't, the question to me, because everybody always laughed at me, and I always thought it was weird because I was pushing Metro. I just want a real conversation about it, because I don't think anybody's, is it advantageous? For me and you, again, me, because that's all that's me, is it better for me as a resident, especially if I were a city resident, which I'm not, but if you're a city resident in the city of Knoxville, is it an advantage to you to have 2 separate governments in this situation? Would it be cheaper, more effective? With the cheaper, they could spend more money on actual services instead of staffing and stuff like that. Would it be better for the overall budget of the city and stuff like that to have these separate, or to have them together? We have 2 engineering offices, we have 2 roads offices, we have 2 parks offices, we have 2 this offices. Now, I'm not saying if we combine them, we would lose one whole office, but would we keep the entirety? Let's say Parks and Rec's 20 people in the county and 30 people in the city. I'm not saying we'd go to 50, but we wouldn't go down to 20 either. We'd be somewhere in the middle. But that's 10, 15 salaries we're not paying. Would we lose service for it?
I mean, I don't see why an engineer wouldn't be able to, or semi-easily have access to the differing code regulations, whatever, between city
I agree
and
with
county.
with the planning thing.
Oh, that's county. Let me get this book out. oh, that's in the city? Let
Right.
me get this book out.
Right. But I mean, I'd say once you're down the road a little bit and you've been in the planning office for the county for a while, you don't concern yourselves and you're going to know the county codes more.
The major ones that you use more often. Yeah.
You'll know them more readily without having to go look them up all the time. You'll know them off the back of your hand. You just have to double check and stuff like that. Right. So when somebody comes in and asks a question, you can just be like, no, that's not a thing that you can do in the county. Whereas, I don't know, let me check the book. Which would be more efficient, be quicker.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that book is 3 inches thick. Ain't no way that those engineers know all of those codes.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But they now have to know half of them instead of the whole. Or they only have to know 1 3-inch book instead of 2 3-inch books.
Right.
Also, theoretically, they'd be the applicant or whomever would be filtered out in the process. So if you're in city and a person comes to you with an application that applies to county, you could just be like, hey, that's over there. You don't waste your time with them because that's county office. Where the old thing, you take all comers. I'm saying in general, not just in the planning department, but in departments at large. Would it be more efficient? Would it be better use of our tax dollars if we didn't have a city and a county government, if we just had one? I don't know. Because nobody, it's the pushback I've always gotten is politics is the issue, not necessarily policy. You're going to have a hard time getting a very left-leaning city government to get on board with whatever process it is that the county would have to do to absorb them. Whether it's the city just quits existing or we actually go into some balloted, agenda item, whether it's like everybody's told me the easiest way to do it is the city just stops. So the city says, nope, we're done. We cease to exist. And I guess it might have to be voted upon to be dissolved. Don't know exactly that part of it. Whether it'd have to go to the populace to be absolved. Because essentially I
mean, that would be a large, it would be a large effect upon the populace. So I would think that would be something that would be about.
I would prefer it to be. Right. Like I wouldn't want it to be, Kincannon just says, you know what, this is bullshit. I quit.
I'm out.
But instead of quitting and letting somebody take the place, be like, not only is it bullshit and I quit, but I'm going to burn it down on the way out.
Have fun, Mr. Jacobs, or have fun. It's all you now.
But to me, the problem with the metro discussion is always that's always been the problem has always been it's a politics issue, not whether or not it's a policy issue, whether or not it's advantageous for John Q. Citizen of the city of Knoxville to be separated or to be together. Because again, like now that the planning commission's splitting up, but we still have so many things that are already combined anyway. The biggest one being the biggest part of the county's budget and bigger than the entire city budget combined is Knox County Schools. But theoretically, that's a state office anyway, which is a whole sub-weird thing. It has to exist regardless of the city or county government at play. The schools have to exist by state law. And the state will run them anyway because it's essentially a state-run thing. But it's under the county fold. It's weird. I got another little spat. Mayor Jacobs put out a tweet. Our children should be educated, not indoctrinated. And somebody reposted it saying, I can't wait for the comments on this one. To which I jumped in my asshole-ish way and said, does it matter that the city or that the county mayor has less than 1% to do with anything that goes on in our schools? But everybody's like, it's a whole bunch of people like, yes, amen, that's why you get elected again, blah, 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 blah. And there's a whole bunch of people like, like when somebody said something about, like, I don't know, maybe they could, if you don't want them indoctrinated, maybe we should stop saying the pledge every morning. Which is like, that's a good point. So like there was it was probably 50-50 as I scrolled through it of you're the man or you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Comments on it. To which I jump in and say, you're all idiots because you're letting him use something that he doesn't have control over as a political tool to get you activated, whether for or against him. And that this goes back to the beginning of the conversation earlier tonight where we were talking about, kids pissing in litter boxes or whatever. It's just a fucking tool to activate. It doesn't matter if it's reality. It's not about reality. It's about whatever it is to get the right people to act the way they want to. And whether that's the weird old people from the weird old county that this person on the floor is representing that are dumb enough to believe that some school somewhere in the state has a litter box for kids. Because, I mean, I can't remember where she was from, but it was like Claiborne. It was one of the more rural counties. And I would say it wouldn't be hard to convince a bunch of Claiborne County people that maybe in Memphis schools they have litter boxes for kids.
Maybe.
At least in her mind, when she put this on the floor, she was speaking to that. She was speaking to that audience that says, yeah, these fucking crazy-ass liberals in Memphis and Nashville are letting kids piss in litter boxes because they think they're cats. And we need to do everything we can to stop that. Where me, I'm like, well, who gives a fuck? It's not your kids in your school, so leave it alone. That's my take, at least.
Yeah.
I don't think...
Just getting tired of the harsh vitriol.
I mean, again, it goes back to the... It's a consequence of the system of elections. It goes back to Max doesn't vote because it doesn't change anything. It's a consequence of the system of election. It's not the elected official's fault. It's not Elaine Davis's fault. It's not Gloria Johnson's fault. It's not Kaplan or any of those people. It's not their fault. They want the job. This is the game you have to play to get the job.
Maybe it's just all these like random polling people that come up with these ideas and come up with like focus groups. They're like, hey, 37% of this, agree with this or disagree with this or would react to hearing or seeing this. And they're like, all right, if I can get 44% of the people to activate and do something, if I say these two words, like, all right, I'm going to say that.
Right, but you can't put it on the...
Maybe it's these social scientists that are...
But you can't put it on the social scientists because the social scientist is hired to help me win.
Right.
And so it's not their fault that they're smart enough in the social sciences to figure out what activates people.
I know.
It's again, it goes back to the parties and the politician themselves who wants to win, and these are they use people that are smart that know how to manipulate people to help them do it.
The abuse of the obvious knee-jerk reaction, I guess.
I don't disagree with you at all,
I know.
But it's this systematic issue. The real systematic issue is that the two parties have such a stranglehold on the process that this is what we get. Because again, like going back to 18. I don't think Testerman's a very good candidate either. As on the grand scheme of things, she has some history in government. She's in the city council right now. Since she's in the city council, she's a Democrat, but not really. But you take a more center, moderate Republican, as they call them now, or whatever, against a very Trumpy, hard right Republican in a Republican primary in a Republican district. That moderate candidate handicaps themselves by staying true to their policy. Because it's easier for that hard right candidate to win when it's just Republicans. So that hard right candidate wins when it's just Republicans, and then we're left with the hard right candidate or the hard left candidate. If we had a Democratic primary, which we don't, but if we had a Democratic primary, it would be the same thing. A moderate Democrat closer to the middle against a far left Democrat. That far left Democrat's got a better chance of winning the primary because there's only appealing to Democrats. You're not trying to appeal to Republicans or even people that are consider themselves independent or swing voters or those people that are truly in the middle, like me. Like I'm truly in the middle of this conversation. I don't particularly care for either thing. I want the best person that can do the best job, in my opinion. I don't really have a voice in that primary, even though I do, and I do my Republican primaries, which I did vote for Testerman on the particular topic that we're talking about. But I'm one of few Republican primary pollers that's going to pull that way. Most people are going to go through the process of a primary, especially because you take a very poor turnout for the actual election day, and you go back to the primary. The turnout's even less. The people that are activated to turn out for primaries are the further right and further left people. They're the more ideologue people are going to be the ones that turn out for primaries. So again, that far right candidate, like Elaine Davis, is going to win that primary, and now we're stuck with what we got. There's no other, I can't think of a way to destruct that issue without going to like a ranked choice or no primary, some completely different primary system that has no party affiliation to it. Or the parties can caucus and bring their own candidate up, and then more independents would probably hopefully run.
I don't know.
I don't know. I can't imagine another way other than, I think, and I've said it before, but I think ranked choice is the solution. I think if you took if it was Testerman, Davis, Kaplan in a ranked choice, and we had a community that was comfortable and understood how ranked choice worked, I think you would. I think Elaine Davis probably loses outright, and then Testerman gets it with more number twos for Elaine Davis voters than Kaplan. Because, I mean, if you're going to vote for Elaine Davis as your one, Kaplan ain't going to be your two.
Have you ever asked Chris Davis's thoughts on ranked choice?
I think we've talked about it, just kind of in passing. But like for him, it's not as
right. He's doing whatever the state
and
state policy is.
And this is one of the things that I've had a couple different people that I've talked to that it gets hard to have conversations on air with them because they have to be careful about what they say because of their job.
Right.
He has to be careful to not, and he says it editorialize. He has to be careful because his opinion is irrelevant, but him speaking his opinion can be construed or could theoretically be kind of thrown back at him for him being objective. It could at least show some non-objectivity, and he doesn't want to cross that bridge publicly, and I understand that.
Right.
And he's one of the people that if we talk off air, I don't talk about what he talked about on air.
Right.
I respect that. I respect him for that, and I just don't think it's appropriate when I could get him fired or something like that. I don't know if I could or not, but I'm just saying that it could get him in some trouble. He get some hot water. He'd have to answer.
Just thinking of the people you've had contact with that have been in kind of the quote unquote election cycle.
I would guess that the most answers would be if I'd say any Democrat in Knoxville would be like yes. Any Democrat in Memphis would be like no. Any Republican in Memphis would be like yes. Any Republican in Knoxville would say no, it's a bad idea. I think depending on where you are, you absolutely understand whether it's a value add or a value loss for you and your party. Anybody that's truly independent is going to say yes, but a truly independent person is not going to win and then go to the state and have enough backing in the state to push it through. So Republicans, it's not an advantage for the Republicans in the state of Tennessee. So a Republican supermajority House is not going to pass election reform into it. It doesn't do them. It is not to their advantage. So why would they?
Right.
It would have to be something that has such a public outcry across the state that it's literally, if we don't push this, if we don't put this in place, it doesn't matter. We're not getting elected again. We may not get elected again if we do put this in place, but we're definitely not getting elected again if we don't. That's the only way that I could see it going through in the state of Tennessee. And that's why I think a state like in Alaska or Maine, they don't have a super partisan history. That's, I think, why they get there first. Because if you have a very nonpartisan state or equally partisan state, you're going to get away with both parties think it might be to their advantage to do it, so they don't. Or so they do. Like they think, this might be better for us. I still think it could be manipulated long term once people get used to figuring out how to work it, but I think it's at least a step in the right direction. Because I think to me it takes out it. I don't know. Again, it's like one of those stupid things where the last time I guess it was when I had Matt and Randy together the last time. It's like, what is a Republican? What is a Democrat? What does it mean to have the letter after the name? That's what drives me crazy about it. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that they have a team and they have party backing. But the party doesn't, any candidate's not going to tell you, I'm going to do whatever the party tells me to do, although they probably will. They won't admit to it. They'll say, no, I'm going to vote what I think is the right thing to do. And what you think the right thing to do is whatever the party tells you it is. I get it. So, why? I don't know. It's just this is the core thing that frustrates me, and I think this is the number one item that we could do, or that will be really hard to do, that would make the biggest, fastest change. I don't know what the first step it is though, but I would love to see I would love to see 4 or 5 candidate races for everything. I would love to see the Republicans caucus and put a candidate on. No more primaries. Democrats caucus and put a candidate on. Libertarians, Green Party, whoever it wants to be, they select a person to run for the seat, and then independents run. And we have one day, one election, which I would hope, not having a year like this year where we have 3 elections in 1 year, might drive turnout a little better. I would think, we'd have 2 this year technically because we'd still have the August county and then now the November state and federal.
Well, I don't know what it's going to take to drive voter turnout.
Well, because I get
that many times.
It's like how do you answer Max's complaint? It's not going to change anything. Like, how do you fix that? Like, how do you fix that outlook from him? How do you in mass make it clear that it does make a difference? Because it certainly doesn't make a difference if you don't. Nothing's going to change if you don't. I agree. But I understand the outlook of nothing's going to change if I do either. That's the outlook that I don't know how to change, especially in large numbers. Because we had a chance in 18. Eddie Manis was a change. He was a difference. And I think if he would have put more than one term in, I think we could have seen some functional difference, like a different, good, solid Republican, air quotes, that crosses lines and is more accommodating than the current Republicans. Because Eddie Manis isn't going to be trying to shut Vandy down for having transgender on youth surgeries and all the other crazy shit that's going on right now. I'm sure Eddie Manis wouldn't stand for litter boxes.
I mean, I would say unless you go at it completely with a kind of an objective outlook, you're always going to have that confirmation bias to whether if you looked at, the 18 elections and it's like, okay, well, maybe somebody good finally got in there. Then you looked at the 2 years they were in office and didn't see much of a change, and then you're just going to confirm to yourself, like, right. Hey, even when I went out there and tried and I got this guy I liked in, well, I mean, still didn't make a difference. But
I think to me, one of the most glaring things, and this is where I start talking libertarian shit.
I don't think there's ever going to be a point where it's going to be glaring and all of a sudden it's going to turn that light on and completely flip that viewpoint on the election process.
Well, but I think one of the things to me is that we all are comfortable with the assumption that they do a lot. Like, there's a lot going on. They spend a lot of time. There's all these bills every year. There's a bunch of stuff. It's important stuff. They're changing laws in the state. They're updating this. They're doing that. They're doing that. That it's a lot of important stuff, which so much of it is so specifically effectual. Like, this thing affects a specific subgroup of the population in the state. Right. This thing affects.
Yeah, well, a lot of those things that they're doing don't have any impact on you, so you don't see them.
They'll pass.
You don't see them hurting you, but you don't see them helping you.
Right. They'll pass 1,600 bills in a session, and nothing changes for you.
Slaughterhouses in Coffee County or whatever, and you're like, I don't give a fuck.
Right. And so to me, that's where I get kind of caught up in my thought process of why does the state take so much control over all these different things instead of letting the counties do it? Because that's one of the things I agree with Langan on for the state Senate 7. It's like, well, okay, state, fine, you have your EPA or your version of EPA that sets, standards for, small scale farm animals. I can't think of the word. Not agriculture, but livestock, right? And so it's under a certain amount of total tonnage of animals or whatever it is, has different rules on what they have to do with and how they have to control their own animals' waste. Okay, fine. But Knox County says if you're going to have a thing in Knox County, this is the threshold of poundage of animal that you can have before you have to do these things. Then the state comes back and says, nope, county can't tell you to do that. And it's like, man, the county's here. It's our water supply in the county that the waste of these animals is affecting. We should be the ones that get to say yes or no to something, not you in the state, because you're not affected by it the way we are.
I'd have to look at, I guess in that specific example, I'd have to look at, I guess, of the wording of it, because I could see it being the state standards being a certain, but the county is able to
right. I think the
make
county
theirs
should
more stringent or whatever.
Right.
Like, hey, we're in.
Well, they can't make it more lax. You know what I'm saying? Like the county couldn't go the other way.
Well, that's one thing I was wondering, if the county decided to go more lax, but then that's where the state came in and it was like, no, you are below the state standards.
Right. And I could agree with that premise. It says the state sets a minimum, but I'm not okay with the state coming in over the county or the city or the municipality and saying, well, your standards are too high. They only have to follow state standards, which is essentially what's going on with this particular item. Like, I don't think that makes sense. Some stuff maybe, and I guess that's where I have to break down the list. I have to put some real thought into like the list of things, because this goes into that federal, state, local, who should be responsible for what thing for me. You know, like I think there is some things that it is appropriate that the federal government has a standard that everybody has to follow. You know, freedom of speech, Second Amendment, which gets a little funky. You know, we have that, like that was the idea, at least as I understand it, of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, is that this is the set things that we deal with. Anything else, the states take care of themselves. But this is our set standard. If the state does something that they think they're dealing with their own thing, but it kind of bleeds over into something that goes under our set standard, then we can step in and be like, hey, you know, like question 4 on the clergy thing. That is a civil rights violation for the state of Tennessee to not allow you to run for office because you're a priest. Okay, my bad. We'll straighten that up. That makes sense to me as that passes from the federal government onto the state. I agree with that in premise.
I mean, a lot of those laws went back to the original founding when even, you know, Christian sects were much more divided and confrontational than they are now.
Right, but I'm just using that as an example.
Right,
it's the premise being that I'm okay with the idea that we can have a universal American standard for certain things. And what I need to work on, I guess, is that list of certain things that I think make sense. And I think a civil rights thing, you are an individual. The United States government, as this government, will guarantee that you as the individual get these certain things. Not get as in we give you stuff, but, you know, cannot be discriminated against for what you are or whatever, like those kind of things. Right? Like, you know, I can appreciate that as a thing. If you want to be a Catholic priest, but you have interest in your local government, I agree it's not appropriate that the local or state government says you can't run for office because of your occupation, essentially. I think that's inappropriate, and I think that's okay that the federal government has something like that in place. And I could be okay with a smaller version out in the state that's a little bit more defined for state rules. But I think at the end of the day, you know, again, sticking with the example that Langan brought up with the livestock situation, I think if you're in, I don't know, what's a Smokies County? Like, what's a county that's close to the mountains? Like, right on the Sevier County, like, with the national park in it, right? I would think I'd be okay with Sevier County being like, hey, tourism dollars, number one key for us. Keeping these Smokies clean, keeping our waterways pretty and stuff like that is super important to us because that is the cash cow of how we exist as a community. So if you want to have 1,000 head of cattle, you got to take care of your cow's shit and piss. You can't let it get into Little Creek or all the different waterways down there, right? Because we have people coming in here for rafting and all this other cool stuff. We can't have you ruining that. I think that would be appropriate. Where the state might be like, well, if you have 10,000 head of cattle, you can do whatever you want, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, as long as you've got it spread out over so many acres.
Right. But if the county wants to step that up a notch because it affects the county and their residents a little bit differently because of that particular county versus, you know, a more rural, like truly rural county that's, you know, flat and grasslands and it's good for it and blah, blah, blah. That makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that control should get the highest level of control should be the closest to the person, I guess is what I'm saying. So the very broad strokes would be the federal government, a little bit finer strokes being the state government, but the local being the one that says, no, here, and we do that on a lot of things, like alcohol being an easy one. We have dry counties in Tennessee, somehow, still. And I'm okay with that. You know, if the county wants to say, you know what, we don't want alcohol here. Okay, fine. So be it. You know, but I don't think the state should be able to go, no, county, you have to sell alcohol. That'd be weird.
Right.
So why would we do it with other things? And that's what I think, that kind of thing, especially in Max's thing about how I don't see him doing anything for me, but I do see stuff that I don't like, but I can't, you know, it's not, even if I vote for the different person, it's not going to fix that thing. And I get that. And again, going back to where we started this thing is like, how do we get that mindset of nothing's going to change anyway? I've got other shit to do. I don't want to go to the polling station. And I think candidate quality is probably the number one thing. I think getting somebody that people can vote for that they're excited about. The actual person, not that they're not the other one.
It's going to take more than that.
I think that's a start. I think a start would be getting, but again, I think to get to the point where we have candidates that people are excited about, we have to get out of the duopoly of the two parties. We have to get out of this issue where, a District 13, or not 13, that one's gone, like a District 16 where Carringer is, she's running unopposed, is only a primary. That the primary is all that matters because there is no general, because no Democrat's going to run against them. Or even my District 18 where the Testerman, Elaine Davis, is more or less probably the election. We have to get out of that where it doesn't matter, the county or the district's going to vote for the R. This is an R district. I mean, like Scott and Jesse were talking about on their podcast. We talked about 18 and 90 on the show they did this week. That's all the races they're going to talk about. They'll talk about the Harmon, no, they won't, because they don't really talk about federal government stuff. They may do a little bit of governor coverage, but very little. But they're not going to talk about 13 or 15 with Sam McKenzie, because he's going to win that seat. It's not even really worth talking about it. They're not going to talk about 16 with Carringer, because she's going to win that seat because she's not running against anybody. They're not talking about McNally in District 5. They're not even going to talk about District 7 in the state Senate with the Langen-Briggs race, because it's a foregone conclusion. We already know who's going to win it. Like, they were joking about, like, if we're going to end up talking about these other races, it's only going to be in hindsight because it's going to be such a surprise that the person we think that we're confident is going to win doesn't win. Which isn't impossible, but it's like, it's not worth talking about. That's the problem. It's not worth talking about because it isn't a race. It's just a formality at this point. Now, that was a lot of conjecture by me. That was a lot of paraphrasing. Those are not quotes by Scott or Jesse, but you can listen to their episode. They basically say that. Florida Man story? I still haven't set up a thing for you. The crowd is excited as Sam prepares to pitch a Florida Man story to me and you.
It starts kind of crazy, but the first sentence sounds really bad. But a man who tried to shoot 7 puppies shot himself when one of the dogs put its paw on the revolver's trigger. This gentleman's being treated at a hospital for a gunshot wound to his wrist. So he decided to shoot the 3-month-old shepherd mixed dogs in the head because he couldn't find them at home. Let's see here. He was holding 2 puppies, one in his hand and the other in his left hand, when the dog in his left hand wriggled and put its paw on the trigger of the .38 revolver. The gun then discharged, the sheriff's report said.
It's rough. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big fan of killing dogs, but I don't know.
It was kind of funny at first till I read it. I was like, oh, shit. Like, oh, he's trying to kill puppies.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Controversial opinion of the night, I guess. He's going to take him to shelter. They're going to kill him there, too. Maybe not accidentally shoot themselves with whatever.
He didn't even try that.
I think it's unfortunate.
This is the one I was laughing at earlier.
Okay.
I'm going to read the whole story. It's just like the headline. Naked Florida man drinks 2 liters of vodka, burns down house, baking cookies on George Foreman grill.
That is a Florida man story.
Well, I was laughing. I was like, how do you burn down the house with a George Foreman grill? I mean, I know that thing gets hot, but I mean, I wouldn't think hot enough to combust anything, let alone cookies.
Well, I mean, you're not like, I remember that, like, George Foreman came out when I was in college, and they were very explicit. You could not have one of those in your dorm room.
It's George Foreman grills?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you do, depending on what you've got on there. You've still got smoke and
grease,
yeah.
Which I still don't understand what you catch on fire with one, but yeah, that is a Florida man headline. 2 liters? And he didn't die?
I guess not.
That's a lot of fucking vodka, bro. I mean, I'm shit hammered off of like a half a fifth, so like 0.3 or like less than a half a liter, I'm fucked. That's crazy. That's impressive, actually. I don't know if I'm more impressed or more afraid of that part.
Maybe he had a bunch of fatty food on his belly that soaked up a bunch of alcohol, and
maybe
just.
I mean, if you're a well-seasoned boozer, you might be able to get there.
Or maybe just not all kicked in yet.
Yeah. So, that's what I got. Weird Monday show, everybody. Got any last thoughts? Anything we missed? Anything important?
No, I brought that one thing at the end last week, but
early voting starts.
Keep going on that long.
Why didn't you do it earlier? You want to go back to that? Which one was the last week?
I asked you if you'd seen much of the that Wisconsin guy that's on trial.
Oh, yeah. Bring it up. Why don't you bring us up earlier?
Because we were talking about other shit.
I mean, remind me pre-show because I forget. Remind me pre-show, and I'll make sure to bring it in.
It don't matter.
I haven't been watching much of it. I did see a little bit of the video you sent.
Let's just kind of see where the conversation goes. Didn't want to go talking about politics or sports and like.
I mean, I try to come
talk about trial going on.
I try to come up.
There wasn't a good transition for it.
I try to have a couple things in the back of my head when we get started, so that we.
I keep saying I'm going to do that, but I never really do it. I try to find just like interesting stories, but then I forget about it after the fact. I'm like, oh, I read this interesting story about this weird thing going on here. Yeah,
I do too. I'm sure. Well, I mean, there was that one a couple weeks ago where we finished, and I was like, wait, we got to talk about this.
I don't know if there was a cool story. I guess it was NASA that found it. I guess they've been watching this one black hole for however many years or whatever, but they actually found there was like a star that was close to the event horizon, essentially like the point of no return, basically. Right. Yeah, that it had been like feeding on this star, but they actually found like that it had like they had, I guess it's called like a burp or whatever, like a cosmic burp. I think they jokingly called it, but they actually had energy that was coming out of it that they found very unexpected. That they're still trying to analyze what exactly is going on, but it was like the star that was getting sucked into the black hole, but now they're getting, I guess, like I think they have actual images and proof that it's actually they've got energy that's coming away from this as well.
So it's part of the star that didn't quite cross the event horizon, but got pulled off of the star itself and then kind of swung around, maybe?
They're not really sure. They had footage or I guess evidence of that star being so close to the event horizon that there was energy or whatever that's getting pulled off of that star. And they were calling it a cosmic burp, yeah.
Cosmic burp.
Just crazy fucking physics.
What a classy name. Way to go. Way to go, NASA. Cosmic burp. Yeah. All right, on that terrible disappointment. Get that reference?
No.
Oh, that's from the Grand Tour.
Okay.
Did you ever watch the Grand Tour?
Maybe a little.
So Jeremy Clarkson and them.
Right.
That was how they ended. That's how we always ended the show.
It's like the American version of Top Gear.
Yeah. Well, no, there was an American version with Joey from Friends.
Yeah, I've seen some of that. That wasn't Joey from Friends.
Pretty sure.
No.
He was on at least one season of it. All right, well.
Maybe not the main guy.
We were going to... Well, there's three of them.
There's one, I guess, I think he's Italian or something.
Oh, the new version's got Dax Shepard.
I think I know the guy you're talking about. That kind of, but not really, doesn't look like him. I think Adam? No. Yeah, Adam maybe. Because there was the guy from Georgia. The other guy that was more of like a race car driver. Yeah. The one picture of
right. Rutledge is, Adam Ferrara, Rutledge, and Tanner Faust.
Yeah, Adam Ferrara. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think... I'm pretty
I think that's
sure.
the guy you were thinking was Matt LeBlanc.
No, Matt LeBlanc was on it at some point. Oh, well. Not doing all the research now.
All right, yeah.
Anyway, it's not an American version. It's still like they did a whole season. Like they did the last two seasons in Jeremy Clarkson's yard, where they set the tent up. Anyway, that show always ends. The closing line is Jeremy Clarkson. It's like, well, on that terrible disappointment, that's the end of our show. So that's the end of our show. Oh, an exciting Monday night on Almost in Agreement, everybody. We did what we do. We talked about stuff. We opined about the terribleness of the elections and who we got to vote for and the sadness and all those things. So anyway, we're Almost in Agreement, almostinagreement@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go to our website, almostinagreement.com. I got that election guide. Early voting starts today, from release day at least. Do your research on your 4 ballot questions. Know your answers beforehand, because you don't want to read, especially number 2 is a page plus long. But anyway, know your stuff. Go in there, get it done. Vote for the people that you think are appropriate for the job. I know who I'm voting for, I think, except for one. But anyway, check out the Compass Points podcast. Those guys do a good show. That's on all major podcast providers, as well as us. We are on all of them. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. Try to bring 3 more guests in the next little bit. We got to refigure out our schedules because personal schedules are changing. So we'll do what we got to do to get that done. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. Ooh, I don't like that as an outro. No talk to you later.